Hello, it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success seminars, where we give you the knowledge and tools to live your ultimate life. So, you don't need me to tell you that a lot of people are struggling right now. And I sometimes get criticized for suggesting that people look for the gift in the struggle. People have even said to me, if you knew what I was going through, you would never say to look for the gift. I even have had people say to me, if you think it's such a gift, you should be living my life. And my response to that is always the same. If I were having your thoughts, I would be living your life. And I really, really don't mean to be disrespectful or flippant or unsympathetic, but whatever reality you're experiencing right now, financially, with your health and your career and your relationships, well, we do create our realities. There is just no way around it. If you plant an apple seed, you cannot expect to get a harvest of papayas. So if you look at your life, the state of your health, the state of your relationships, your finances, every single thing, it's the harvest of a seed you planted and nurtured. And the way you nurtured the seeds is with the power of your attention. What we put our attention on is what grows in our lives. So again, look at your thoughts. Are you thinking positive, expectant thoughts of a great future filled with success and good health and well-being, even while you're dealing with the present realities of life? Or are your thoughts more along the lines of, everyone around me is struggling, everybody is sick, everybody has doubts about the future, people are so depressed, there just seems to be no end in sight? Well, I'm not going to take your precious time talking anymore about the power of your thoughts. You know it. It's Law of Attraction 101. But what I will say is that if we no longer want to harvest difficulties, we have to start being more aware of what we're planting and nourishing in our hearts and in our minds. And I am telling you, as sure as I am sitting here today, every little effort you make in this direction will be rewarded beyond your wildest dreams. If you take one step, just one step towards helping yourself, just one time that you're about to tell the story of your horrible childhood, and you hear that voice saying to you that what you're doing is you're bringing the vibration of the past right into your present, where it will draw what it is vibrating similarly to right into your current life. And instead you stop, you take a breath, and instead you tell the story of a happy moment of high vibration. Well, not only will like attract like, but the universe will reward your valiant effort 1,000 times over. A basic belief that will aid you greatly in this is that we live in a friendly universe, that there is nothing about the God of your understanding that is vindictive. And the God of your understanding is not randomly creating your suffering. This force in the universe loves you more than the word love can come close to describing. It's just like you would want to take your pain, the pain away from your own children when they're suffering, that force would love to take your pain away. But just as you know the gift it is to your own children to not run interference and protect them from every sling and arrow of outrageous fortune, and thus never learn to get out of the way of those slings and arrows, God, out of her great love for you, allows you to experience what you need to experience for your own growth, for your own highest good, and so you know what not to do next time. And you know, and I know, that when you look back on your life, what seemed to be the greatest curse turned out to be the greatest blessing. And often what seemed to be the greatest blessing was not a blessing at all. You know, the person who helped me internalize this was the great Byron Katie. Her body of knowledge called The Work is based on the realization that she had when she woke up. And that is this: when she believed that anything should be different than the way it was, like My husband should be nicer to me. My children should respect me. And the reality is, he isn't, and they didn't. She suffered. And that when she didn't believe those thoughts, when she didn't believe that anything should be any different than exactly as it is, she felt peace. She realized that what had been causing her depression was not the world around her, but her belief that the world around her should be different than it was. Katie says through the lens of her own self-realization, she recognized that our attempts to find happiness are completely backwards. Instead of hopelessly trying to change the world and the people in it to match our thoughts about how it should be or how they should be, we can just question our thoughts. And by meeting reality as it is, we can then experience freedom and the end of suffering. One way her work has always helped me through tough times is by when I ask the simple question, how do I know this is supposed to be exactly the way it is? And the answer is, because it is. Argue with reality and you will always lose, but only 100% of the time. Again, when something was painful in my life, I would simply ask myself, how do I know this is supposed to be exactly the way it is? Because it is. If it were supposed to be another way, it would have been that way. I love the story that Katie tells that after she had her awakening experience, she would have little groups in her home, and people heard about, the enlightened woman in Barstow, and they would show up at her door. And when she would open the door to meet them, and, there she would be, the enlightened woman, and they would say to her, namaste, namaste. Well, she didn't have that kind of background. And she thought that what they were saying to her was, well, she would say to them, you are absolutely right. Because she thought that what they were saying to her was, no mistakes, no mistakes. True story. Anyway, once you accept that we live in a benevolent universe and you realize the absolute utter perfection of creation, I am telling you, you will fall to your knees and you will know that there is a way to overcome every obstacle. You might not know what it is, but the intelligence that created the universe does. And you can give the obstacle to that intelligence and surrender and know that the solution is on its way. Maybe not as soon as you would like the solution to appear, but it will appear exactly when it's supposed to. One of my favorite quotes is from the Reverend Dr. Barbara King, who recently passed away, but she was a minister and she was the head minister of the Unity Church in Atlanta. And in her book, Transform Your Life, she said this, and I quote, "This sense of all rightness may not come the first time we seek it, or even the second. We may feel as though our prayers are not being heard. We may wonder if we are praying right, or even if prayer is the right thing in the given circumstances. At such times, it doesn't hurt to keep in mind the wisdom of our elders who understood and who were more patient than we seem to be with the workings of God. My grandmother, for instance, used to say to me, he may not come when you want him to, but he will always come on time." So my wish for you this week is to put your attention on the silver lining in every rain cloud and to know that your prayers are being heard and the solutions will come, not in your timing, but in perfect timing, and that there are no mistakes in the universe. How do we know it was supposed to happen the way it did? Because it did. Argue with reality and you will always lose. So give thanks for the reality, no matter the outward appearance. And I promise you, it is a foolproof way to find true happiness.